I'm here at Brenntag today. I've been invited as part of their World Health and Safety Day week of activities to come in and demystify AEDs. So this is just a little video which we're going to share throughout the organisation just to help you out. There will be some other materials and things coming through your emails as well. So when we're talking about automated external defibrillators, this is a training one here, and I've chosen to use this one for demo because it's the one that's in a lot of little coded cabinets around about the area in the community. And if you should need to use one of these, you'll find a little code on the cabinet that when you phone the 999 emergency service and give them that code, they'll give you the little key code number to be able to get it out of the cabinet. Now, this one should be stored on adult setting, but it does have a little feature here that we could slide it across for child setting if needed to be, and that would be for children up to the age of 8. Once they're over 8, they do need an adult-sized shock. Let's just reset that back to adult for now. And defibs are incredibly easy to use. You turn them on in one of two ways. There is either a nice big green button, green for go, or you open a lid and it's blatantly obvious on the model what you do with it. When you turn them on, they will have voice prompts as we will run through, which will instruct you with exactly what to do, making them super easy to use. Remember, you'll also be phoning the emergency services, and the call handler will also assist you in doing your first aid and CPR as well. Now, defibs, or automated external defibrillators, are incredibly clever. You see, they analyse the casualty's heart rhythm, and they will only allow you to deliver a shock if the casualty's heart would benefit from it. You cannot just shock somebody who has fainted, so you cannot get this wrong. However, if the machine's attached to a casualty and would deliver a shock to them by pressing the orange shock delivery button, and somebody else is touching that casualty, they would also get a shock. So they're nearly idiot-proof, but just not quite. So it's really important that you ensure yourself and anyone else is clear when we are actually doing the shock delivery. So I'm just going to turn it on and we're just going to run through how it actually works. So green for go.
Call emergency medical services now.
Just in case you
Adult
forgot.
mode.
And you
Follow
can
the
see
voice prompt calmly.
there's an indicator telling you
Remove
what to
all
do.
clothing from chest and stomach. Rip clothing if necessary.
So we're going to get down to the bare skin level of the casualty, removing clothing.
Take out the pads
And we're
from
going
the
to
bottom of the
copy
device.
where the pads tell us to on the
Tear
pictures.
open the pads packaging. Look closely at the picture on each pad.
Now, because
Peel
the
off
heart
the pad
is
labelled
slightly on
1
this side of the
and
chest,
stick to the
we're on
bare
that
skin of the
diagonal.
patient, exactly as shown in the picture.
And the machine will keep giving us prompts until it's on.
Peel off the pad
As soon
labelled
as it's
2
attached, it will know,
and stick to the
but I
bare
do need to
skin
tell
of
the
the patient,
training machine that
exactly
it's
as
attached to
shown
the
in
plastic
picture.
mannequin.
Do not touch
And
the
we've
patient.
moved
Analysing
down
heart
to a
rhythm.
get off. Everybody back, stand clear, meter clear.
Shock advised.
Okay, it wants to shock.
Stand
Everybody
clear.
back,
Press
stand
the
clear.
flashing orange.
Shocking now.
Shock delivered. Begin CPR now. Press the flashing blue I button for CPR voice prompt. First.
We're now going to perform chest compressions to give the casualty a circulation. After every 30 compressions, we could give breaths.
Breathe. Breathe. Second. System shutting down.
I'm going to stop the machine there so I can talk over it. So as you can see, it's incredibly easy to use because it will just tell you what to do, including how to give CPR. Now, with COVID-19 at the moment, it has been recommended that we don't have to give rescue breaths. So if you want to do compression only CPR, if you're worried about COVID or some other infectious bug, you could put a face covering over the casualty's nose and mouth, and you can do compression only CPR. If you do that, just keep squashing the chest throughout the breath prompts and just keep that casualty's blood pressure up by doing effective compressions without any gaps. If, however, you are doing CPR on a child, they do need oxygen. So the recommendation is that if you are willing and able to give rescue breaths, then please do still do them. So you can see these are incredibly easy to use. Now, the main thing is not to be in the circuit, directly or indirectly, and that would include things like metal, water and gas. So vapours in a car park would count with your gases, metal radiators or floor grills, spillages, including if the casualty's bladder has gone. So make sure you and anybody else are well back. Once this is attached, you can still move it, just don't pull the leads really tight, and therefore you can back up a little bit from your casualty if you want a little bit more space to assess. Okay. There's a few extra things that is helpful to know. If you forget these, it's not the end of the world. But when we're putting our electrode pads on, they need to stick really well and have good conductivity through the casualty so that the machine can best assess their heart rhythm. So if the chest is particularly wet or hairy, things won't stick. So there should be a little rescue kit with your defibrillator at work, and you can just dry where the pads go or quickly dry shave if they look like the Wookiee out of Star Wars, just where the pads need to go. If you're in the community and the razor's gone missing, just try and get those pads on without air gaps. If they're on and your machine keeps shouting at you to apply pads but you have, if you've got a spare set, you could rip off the pads, put the fresh pads on, but you would then need to remember to swap the electrode connector for the new set into the machine. Okay, wherever the end of the wire is wherever it will plug in on your model. Metal can be an issue because it can cause burns. So if we have long necklaces like lanyards up and over, if it's shorter necklaces to the side. I always get asked on courses about nipple rings for some reason. So what we'll do with this top pad is just angle it so it's not near any jewellery that might be attached to our casualty. Underwire bras we cut off. If everything goes east and west, on the left here you may need to lift the breast to be able to make sure that that electrode pad is on the chest wall. And the final metal thing would be things like implanted pacemakers or defibrillators which have a wire ending in the heart. So what we do is we'll spot a little scar there underneath the collarbone, and there'll be a little box shape near it, so we'll go a hand breadth away and our top pad then may move a little bit more sideways. If for any reason we can't go here because there's an implant here, we could go a hand breadth away, and on the front of the chest, to make sure our current goes through our heart, our second pad would then go between the casualty's shoulder blades. Okay, so we'd be front and back. That would then mean that you are squashing through the pad to do your chest compressions. We'd also go front and back for smaller casualties such as younger children, just because large pads, we don't want them too close together and the current going pad to pad. Okay. Some people also use medication patches. Some medication patches have a low flash point, so to make sure we don't have any problems, if there's something that looks a bit like a square or rectangular compeed plaster, then just remove it from the chest when you're applying the electrode pads. So very, very simple to use, incredibly easy. Golden rule is turn it on, follow the voice prompts. Let's just put this into a little scenario. Let's reset the pads. So I'm not going to stand up and walk away because I'll go out of camera shots, but let's imagine I've just come around the corner at work and there's a colleague here collapsed on the floor. First thing I'm going to do is stop and assess for danger, make sure it's safe, consider any PPE such as gloves and masks that I might want to put on at this point. I'm going to come in from where the casualty can see me, and if they're not looking at me and talking, I'm going to check for a response by squeezing both shoulders and going, "Are you all right?" If I get no response, they are unresponsive and we have a serious medical emergency on our hands. Sorts of response I might get: grimace, opening eyes, or a right and left hook, and this is why I'm protecting my nose and doing it in this way. If you're on your own and you haven't already done so, guidelines suggest we shout for help at the top of our voice, and then we'll get an open an airway and check for normal breathing. To open an airway, we're going to tilt the head, lift the chin, and then what I would suggest with COVID in mind is that you put your wrist just above your glove over the casualty's mouth and you look for chest and belly movement. We need movement and breath to be shifting to be sure that somebody is breathing. There is something known as agonal gasps, which is infrequent noisy gasps when there's low oxygen to muscles, including to the diaphragm. You can get air drawn past the vocal cords. These infrequent gasps do not count as normal breathing. Anything less than 2 breaths in a 10-second check means you need to start CPR. So 999 emergency services, or send a colleague to do that. And if you have one, to get a defibrillator, and you would start chest compressions. As soon as it arrives, the defibrillator becomes the priority, so we turn it on. Cut off or rip off clothing.
Emergency medical services now. Adult mode. Follow the voice prompt calmly. Remove all
As
clothing
soon as it's
from
on,
chest
it will
and
know.
stomach. Rip clothes. Do not touch the patient.
Everybody clear?
Analysing heart rhythm.
Everybody back. Move away.
Shock advised.
Okay, it wants to shock. Everybody clear. Stay clear. Shocking now.
Shock delivered. Begin CPR now. Press the flashing blue I button for CPR voice prompt.
If you have a voice prompt, do press
Reanalysing
it.
heart rhythm in 2 minutes.
And it is that simple.
System shutting down.
Debbie's here with me in the background. Debbie, are there any questions that you think we should answer on the end of this?
I can't think of any.
Great. Fantastic. Well, I hope that's been of help, and it's been a pleasure to be here at Brenntag today.